and that's why we wear the boots, kids. Hey kids, welcome back to NerdSteading. On this episode, we're going to complete our interior framing of the workshop in the barn. That means, well, cleaning up after myself first, and then house wrapping all this annoying insulation. Remember, this used to be the exterior wall of the barn before we decided to tackle this workshop project. So the house wrap, we have some left over from doing the outside. You should watch that wall framing video. Once we have the house wrap covering the insulation on these kind of wonky walls, we're going to frame in some standard 2x4 stud 16-inch on center walls so that we can add our own wall board later. Now, I got some measurements. Let's make a bunch of cuts. You're basically making a box. Every 16 inches or so, put down one of these boards that you cut to your measurements. Don't forget to account for the thickness of the top and bottom 2x4 as you do this. I did that once. I cut that part of the video out because it's just me swearing at a bunch of lumber that I didn't correctly measure. But now that you've got this wall together, just get a friend, or in my case, a Susan. They're handy to have around. And pop this wall into place. Yeah, I'm going to check to see if it's level. I know, it's in a barn, but I like to try. Once things are pretty level, I'm just going to stick some screws in here. Some people will use like nail guns and stuff. I'm just going to use screws because I got like a box of them. The drill's kind of handy. But screw all this stuff into place, attach it to the floor, attach it to the wall above, and then lather, rinse, and repeat until I've got more walls and have pretty much entirely framed this whole thing. Yeah, I cut a lot out. It's just the same sort of thing over and over again, but look at these lovely walls. There's also some low voltage wiring in here for networking and speakers, but we'll talk about that in a different video. Now that was all 2x4 framing. The back wall is going to be 2x6. Not because of any kind of building code or aesthetic choice. I'm having to deal with the existing measurements of the framing timbers. It's a little complicated because this barn, if you've seen our earlier videos, has gone through some stuff. It's really 3 or 4 different projects that we inherited because the original barn, and I'm not kidding, was built to farm mushrooms and was about a quarter the size of what we ended up purchasing. That means that everything's been added on over time, and things like, I don't know, roof construction, wall construction, the level of the concrete pour in the barn aisle, they're all slightly different from each other. So I'm building this 2x6 wall basically inside of the gap between 2 framing rafters where they extended the roof. This has totally expectedly, created some challenges. But first, let's talk about windows. So I framed up the header for the small window a couple of days ago. You might be wondering why I'm putting a window, A, next to another existing really big window, and B, on a side of the barn that is technically inside. Well, I want a cross ventilation window so that when we open up the window on the far side, air comes all the way through. And I wanted a small window to stick an air conditioner in case it gets too hot in the shop in the summer. And that's easier to do in one of these small standard up and down windows than the side to side windows that for some reason are super popular here in the Pacific Northwest. Once we're done with that, we decided to frame out a double door for the back of the shop because, well, we got big stuff we're going to have to get in here, and I couldn't really do that on the front wall considering how it had already been kind of framed out. So we decided to put it back here. We'll put in a ramp once we clean out the rest of this crap. I've got the sides framed out pretty well, but I've got to get the top of the header finished. And with that comes the other challenge of framing into this wall. Notice we're framing into this existing gap, which is roughly the size for a 2x6. And that means that when we get to the top of this, we're going to have this weird kind of opening. Because these two header boards for the roof don't line up exactly, we're going to have to get creative here, because even once you put the siding up and cover the outside of the wall, you don't want creepy crawlies coming in the top of the wall and nesting in the insulation like they did on the other side. So I'll probably do something with some scrap lumber to fill in a lot of these gaps so that this top isn't open all the way across. I'm not going to wait to do that until after the electrician's done, because once we replace some of this wiring, he's going to have to be able to run electricity out so that we can replace these terrible light fixtures and things that are in the run-in storage area. I also really need to pull some of these old light fixtures out today. The electrician's going to do some cleanup and rewire with a proper outdoor grade wiring. This is all the stuff that we pull out turns out interior grade Nomex, which is a huge no-no. But then you've also got stuff like this classic screw-bub light fixture that I believe that's a Dead's hornet's nest on the top. Anyway, that's gonna go as well. There we go. Against the top. We're even with the inside of the frame. It's a juggling act. We need 4 hands. What do we got?
We are very good.
Yay, look at that. We can just cut a couple of 2x6s.
Yeah.
Or find some scraps that are roughly the right height.
Mm-hmm.
And
the cistern.
Yeah.
Rafter. And
yeah, cistern for the rafter and screw into the bottom. Mm-hmm. And then that'll give us something for the siding to attach to over the door. Mm-hmm. And it'll give the door a little bit of extra support at the header. Yeah. Well, most of the support of the door would really be them at the sides, which are also kind of the same thing. So, yay, structure. Well, if something's going to fail today, it might as well be the camera mount. This is what I get for buying the cheap one on Amazon. That's it. I framed a wall. Yes, the workshop has framed walls, and they are ready for electrical, insulation, siding, and did I say something about a back door? Oh, you're going to have to stay tuned to understand how bad of an estimate I made on when that door is going to show up. So like, subscribe, and stay tuned for another episode of NerdSteading.